It's almost April, which means it's time for a planner and journal update. But first, if you're new, hey, my name is Lauren, and on my channel, I like to talk about how I use planners and journals to keep my mind calm. If you saw my 2026 stack video, then a lot of what you'll see today is the same, hasn't changed. The things that have changed a little bit, I will focus a little bit more on that and explain. But for time's sake, I don't want to go into all the nitty-gritty details. And I do have like other videos on my channel that go deeper into some of these systems. So that's going to help give you more explanation as to how I plan. I want to start with my planners, and I'm going to try and actually do this a little bit differently than I've done in the past with these videos. So bear with me. I'm going to try and explain my planning system in a way that's going to help you kind of understand how I use it like on a day-to-day basis and like exactly the order or method that I follow, as opposed to just saying like, this is the planner for this is the planner for that, this is the planner for that, because they all work together and it'll make more sense if I do it that way. This stack right here are the journals. We'll come back to that. And this right here is my system for budgeting. It's a completely different system than everything else that I use with my planning. So there's a whole video about this that you can check out for all the details. But really quickly here, I will say that this is just a grid notebook from Sterling Ink. It's an A6 size, and I'm using this like a checkbook register. And I've been using this since August of 2025. I've gotten about a quarter of the way in, and we are almost in April. So this is going to definitely last me a while before I completely fill up this book. I'm old school. I like to keep track of what's happening in the bank account on paper, because I don't want to rely on looking at an app or pulling it up on the internet. There's always a lag, so I need to write things down. I need it to be accurate, and this is how I do that. So in here, the planner that I use is a Plum paper notes and days weekly planner, and I am an affiliate, so you'll see my link in the description if you want to pick up the same one or a different one from them. I have a coupon code that will get you 10% off, and they will stack with their sales. So usually around Mother's Day, they have another one. So that's when I purchased this one that I have here for the 2026 calendar year, because the other time of the year that they have a big sale is around Thanksgiving, Black Friday in November time. And if I wait until then to purchase my planner, it's kind of a little bit too late in the sense that I can't have it with me, because I do go into the weeks and like budget out in advance about a month or so out. And waiting until that time of the year, I've noticed, because it's been a couple years that I've used this planner and the system, I need it a little sooner. So May might be a little too soon, but that's really May and November are like the biggest sales that Plum paper has. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that for anybody. And it is housed inside this Moterm cover that is a half letter size. I like that because it has a big pocket here that I can stick like normal size paper in, and I do keep some important like finance related documents in that pocket. And I'll show you real quick what the layout looks like, but I'm going to defer to the video for a full explanation of how I do this. But this is pretty much where the list of the bills go. My husband gets paid every week, so this works really well for me to have this in combination with keeping track of what's happening here. And this has been 5 years going that I've been doing it like this. Before I switched it to paper, I was doing this exact same method in an Excel spreadsheet. So it's something that you could totally do in an Excel spreadsheet if you wanted to do it like that. Okay, so my system, my planning system. This is kind of part of it. This is where, this is the dashboard layout. I switched out of this in the beginning of the year. So I still have this that goes until the end of June. It's kind of been repurposed since I'm in a different planner to be like my content planner, but not like you think. It's more like a place for me to write down here things that I've done related to content. Like if I've posted something on Instagram or made a YouTube post or a YouTube video or anything like that, then I like to write down here. It's something I've done on and off over time, and it's something that I think has helped me to kind of feel like I'm actually making progress on things, because sometimes I feel like I'm not really doing anything when I actually am. It's not like a good indicator for me to just look at like, when am I posting a YouTube video? Especially lately, my videos have been more like once a month. So having this kind of helps me to see where I'm at, where I've been putting my energy when it comes to the content, because sometimes that stuff's not actually listed out in my planner anywhere as far as like me sitting down and being like, this is what I'm going to do today. 'Cause sometimes it just randomly happens. I randomly, work on something related to content. So this is a good spot for me to like write it down. I don't necessarily go back and look at it. Sometimes I do. I'll have a thought like, when did I come up with that idea? Because sometimes I will write down the ideas in here. And that's what I've been repurposing this for. I don't know if when this ends, I will like do this sort of keeping track somewhere else or get another dedicated thing for this. I always go back and forth with that. That's just going to be a future thing. So you have to kind of hang tight and see what happens mid-year if I decide to do it or not. But I did want to show this in case you knew that I was using a dashboard. I had started using this early. So this one, I want to say I was using it May, June. So 8 months. I used this layout and then switched. All right. So let me explain my system here. So this is an Erin Condren academic planner. And I got this one because this year they changed the formatting for the academic planner. It used to be more like a horizontal, if I'm remembering correctly. And they added, they turned it into this, which has a bunch of lines, and it's got these little boxes here for separating your subjects. It's meant to be for students. So they don't have all the same pages. If you want to see like the video that shows exactly what this looks like when you receive it, if you order it, you'll have to check out that video. But the way that I plan is in this order. So let me think. So on my monthly, I'll start here. This is where all the appointments go. This is where I will write down using a friction pen is what I've been preferencing here, so that if something happens, I can erase it. Sometimes I don't erase it. Sometimes I will kind of do like a loop and notate if it was rescheduled. That's usually what my little loop, and that's usually the reason why I would cross something out on here. If something gets completely canceled, then I'll probably erase it. But it just depends. Before it gets on here though, it only gets put on here like if it's the actual month happening. Up until that point, I have some pages in the front of the planner that are some stickers from Planner Kate. I think in my video where I set up this planner, sometime around Christmas. I want to say that video came out on Christmas Day, 2025. You can see what I'm talking about. I can't show you because it's got stuff on there now, and I'm very private about like my schedule. So pre-dating, that's where they go in advance. So if I go to the doctor today and I make an appointment, I will get like the little card. And then when I get home, I will input that information into one of the pages in the front of the planner so that I can use that to reference when I'm setting this up. Typically, this page gets set up about 2 weeks before the month actually starts. And I will use stickers like these black and white icon stickers from Planner Kate to indicate things like, soccer games. And these I use for my massages. And it helps me to not have to use up as much space, so that I would maybe just stick the sticker and then write the time next to it or whatever important information I need. And that's, what my month consists of. It's just like the scheduled things. No school, breaks, that sort of stuff. So then the way I weekly plan is I'll set this up usually Thursday or Friday before the week starts. And I will look at this and determine what's happening that I need to put down here for this week. So I'll look at the week and put all that dated stuff here. And then from here, what I will do is I will reference this notebook. So this notebook is kind of like my DIY Moxie Life system. I have used their system before, like in their products and their planners. I have videos about that. This year, I wanted to put it in a notebook. So I actually just wrote out, I didn't highlight the colors yet and color code, but I did just finish filling in the pages for the next couple weeks so that I have them ready. So that's pretty much what I've been doing, is prepping this notebook about a month at a time. So we're almost in April. So I just finished putting in all the pages for April. So what I will do is I will reference this, which is my weekly actions page that I've already sat down and figured out what my actions are going to be for the week. And the way I figure out what my actions are for the week is I will reference the monthly goals page, which would be here. This is where the monthly goals would go for April. And when I sit down to do my weekly actions, I will reference this page and figure out, okay, what of these goals am I going to work on this week? And then I will write it down here. So then from here, I need to figure out where is it going to go in my week. So then I will input the things here. If it's something that is going to happen on a specific day, then I could put it on that day. But I found that this layout, as you can see, does not have like a dedicated, here's a spot for like the week. I've been using this bottom section here because I don't really need that much more than this for each day. I've been using this section down here to create like a weekly list. So I will start like this week and I'll just start a running list of things that I want to do during the week. As the week goes on, stuff gets added because obviously things that are goal related, weekly actions related, don't necessarily encompass all the little things that happen in my life as a mom with 4 kids. So things might happen during the week where I realize, wait a minute, this particular area of the house needs to get tidy up, hasn't been cleaned. I'll make a note. Will it happen in that week? Maybe, maybe not. But like as stuff comes up and I think about it or I see that things need to happen, this is kind of where the stuff gets jotted down, and then it'll get either migrated over or it'll eventually get moved to a different spot. If it's something that I'm not going to be able to do it the next week, then I'll have to figure out a different location. I might end up putting it on my goals for like another month, but that's the gist of like the flow of how I use my planner. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I do have a video also where I updated my use of this, because the way I started using this planner in the beginning of the year was very much just kind of like how this is, where you'd have categories. But as I used it for a couple weeks, I realized I was missing having a spot for like my weekly to-dos and like that sort of thing. So I have an update video on that, which kind of shows you my planner and some of the layouts of me writing in it if you want an actual example. I'll leave all that in the description. I will say, honestly, I have not sat down yet and finalized my goals for 2026. My plan was to use the Lunar New Year as my starting point, which would have been February the 17th, as far as finalizing my goals. But I do loosely in my head have the goals that are our priorities for the year. One of them being like paying down credit cards. We are making progress, and it's not like my goals are not happening. I haven't sat down and actually wrote them down and finalized them in each of the categories yet. And I'm fine with that. It's okay. This has happened before, and I'm not like stressing too much about that. My goals are always to prioritize myself. And by that, I mean, live my life in a way that's not focused on doing things, and it's more focusing on how I'm feeling. And if a certain phase requires more rest and less productivity, then so be it. And that's what I have to lean into. And that's kind of already built into my brain because of all the years of me doing the Moxie Life system. So I have the things that I know I do like all the time. I have videos that you can check out if you want to see examples. I've done plan with me's where I've filled out my weekly actions for you in real time. I don't know yet if that is something that is going to come to the channel this year or not. We will have to see, but I did intend on doing a goals video. If that happens, we will see. Since I still haven't actually set them up, maybe I will do that, and it will be something that I film so that you can get a gist of the process at this point in my life, because obviously past videos are past versions of myself, but that still could be meaningful for you, especially if you've never seen them, or even if you did and you might be in a different phase than you were when you watched it last time. So watching them this time, you might come away with it differently. That's the cool thing about having a YouTube channel and having things on there that can just stay on there forever until I decide I want to take them off, is you can watch them whenever. So the other part of my main planning system is on a day-to-day basis. So there have been times where I will use a daily planner religiously, and how that would work is I will look at my week and then have my daily planner and write down only what's happening for the day. And then I can keep this closed and just focus on the day. And that has worked great for periods where like there's just a lot going on, a lot of things that I want to do. Right now, I'm not really in that phase where I need a daily that's dated. So the way I've been doing like my daily planning is kind of all over the place right now. So you might remember this was in my stack, and this is a traveler's notebook that has some traveler's notebook inserts in it. This is just like a piece of leather that broke off of a purse. I have that there to protect this from getting dug into by the rubber band. So these notebooks, I wonder if I can even show you this. Okay, I probably can. So that's funny. And I actually just rescheduled this OB my annual appointment again. So this is kind of an example of how I'll use this. It's kind of like the bullet journal method, where these are the scheduled appointments and I'll just write it down. But honestly, I think there's a little bit too much friction with this whole setup, and that is something that I kind of already had a feeling would be an issue when I wanted to get this and try this out. It might be better if I took this insert out and just have the notebook out of the cover and just have the insert as something I can use. But it's just, I have it. So if I feel like writing it in here, then I can do that. Or I always have a lined list pad from Erin Condren by my bed. And this is more because in the middle of the night, sometimes stuff comes up, or right when I'm getting ready to fall asleep, your mind might start all of a sudden thinking of stuff, and I have a spot to write things down. But this is also a really great size for a daily list of things I need to do. So this is something that I've been occasionally reaching for, especially if at the end of the day, right before I go to bed, I start thinking about what do I need to do tomorrow and I don't want to forget. So I will just jot it down because this is literally right there by my bed. And that's what happens. And for years before I was in the planning community, I had a little small spiral notebook that would be by my bedside also. And I think that's kind of how I survived between occasionally having to write stuff down there to remember to do something, using my iPhone reminders app. I'm so glad that they now have a feature where it can do an alarm. So I always do the reminders where it reminds me at a certain time. If I just tell Siri to remind me something, sorry, hopefully no one's went off, but I will not see it because I won't get a pop-up notification. I don't regularly have a habit of clicking into that app on my phone, but when I get a pop-up notification, it'll stay in my notifications and I kind of have to deal with it. So a lot of times I will have it remind me in an hour or remind me in the morning, and that's how things get kind of pushed along and stuff gets done. So that's kind of also in addition to this, because there are definitely times where I'm nowhere near any of my planners and I'm thinking about something and I realize, oh crap, and I will just have my phone remind me, hey, remind me to do this at whatever time. Also, sometimes I'll be talking to my kids and they will tell me, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, text me. And that way, when I get the text and I'm able to look at the text later, because sometimes I'm driving when this happens, and once I see the text, I will then move that information over to something else. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I wonder if I could have my kids kind of remind me. I'm sure there's probably a way. If you know this and want to help save me a little bit of legwork in researching how to do that, because I'm pretty sure there's a way to have you would think that I could just be like, hey, remind so-and-so. And as long as it's someone in the family, it could pop up a reminder on their end as almost like a shared reminder, kind of like shared notes. I don't know. I'm going to have to see. But if you know, let me know in the comments. Technology is great like that. But I did also just purchase this daily list thing. I don't know what they're calling it. I have a magnetic bookmark here because I used that page and I didn't want to accidentally turn to it. So it's just a daily page. Now it is perforated on the top. If you wanted to rip this out, you could. My only thing is it's kind of it's perforated in a spot very close to where you're supposed to start writing. So this date right here that you're supposed to write, it's literally the line is right there at this line is the perforation is right there. I don't know if that's gonna, it's like right at it. So there's no way I'm gonna write the date very tiny to where if I cut this off, you're gonna like miss half of it. It'll still be eligible. I'm just pointing it out. Maybe Erin Condren in a future version will start this a little bit further down on the page, or put this perforation a little bit higher up, closer to the coil. It's just like a design thing that is kind of irky. I am a little disappointed that this is a plastic, and then this paper is the design. It's like it's not it's thicker than the actual paper, but it's a cardstock, and it's not as thick as I thought it would be. Now the backing of this notepad is a really good thick cardstock. Why this is not the same thickness on this front one, this paper, I don't understand. So that's my question. And this has a lot of note pages. So I got a good deal on this because I got this when they had the Lucky You, I guess it used to be called like a warehouse sale, the spring sale that they would have, and the whole site would have been marked down 20%, and then I had a 20% coupon from Life Planner launch still. So between that, it made it less. And I think I even had like a credit. I had a credit in my account from Erin Condren that I totally forgot about until I got to checkout, which is always fun. So that helped my order also not be as expensive. But this notepad's probably going to last a while. This is like a lot more pages than in a normal notepad, like a normal list pad that they have. I don't know how many of these are, but it feels like the same thickness type of paper as like the Erin Condren Life Planner paper. So I like that. Okay, moving on to the journals. So these two are the same from earlier in the year, and still using them the exact same way as before. This is a pocket size daily planner from Sterling Ink, and the pages are just daily. It has timestamps from 6 to 8, and all the months are going to be in the front. And this is just, and there's a couple like line notes pages. Grid. It's graph grid. There's a couple of those pages in the back. But every day, this is a place for me to just kind of jot down a little bit about the day. This helps me to better process whenever I do a weekly reflection at the end of the week, to not just think about my planner to-dos and how did I do as far as accomplishing the weekly actions I set out or whatever, but just reflecting in general on how the week went. Because if I were to not do any kind of journaling at all during the week and just kind of have to think, well, how did this week go? That would probably not go over well. Even if I looked at my planner would probably help me to kind of jog my memory a little bit about what happened. But this past month, things have been just so busy that there hasn't been much in the way of what I've written down in my planner to kind of really help me gauge well on how day to day went. So this is working really well. I actually really like using the month to kind of highlight something so that when I look at the month views, when I go back and look at the month views, I can see kind of how things have went, pointing out things that were standing out, like eating out somewhere or visiting with my parents, going on a date, those types of things, not something that's stuff that's like not normal, calling those things out in the monthly view. I did that. I really liked doing that last year too, when I was doing journaling in a Hemlock and Oak, and I have a video about that. I do miss that those monthly pages, those monthly calendars are so much bigger than these tiny little boxes. I can only fit so much writing in these. So that's just something for me to think about for the future. I think Sterling Ink makes little monthly booklets that I could get that would be a bigger size if I wanted to continue to do like daily journaling in this size, but want to have a monthly, like just a monthly only in a bigger size. And then together they could work as like memory keeping type thing. But I don't know. That's something I have to think about in the future as we get closer to deciding what I'm going to do for 2027. And then here, this is just a lined Erin Condren notebook. It is a perpetual calendar. This actually, when I first started using this, was not an option in their A5 notebooks, and now it is. This was something that had came in a bundle, a spring bundle that Erin Condren had sent me as a collab, and I started using this as my long form journal is what I call it. And this is the form of journaling that I've been doing since I was like 10 years old, maybe. I don't know, like 30 years. So it really is just me writing out my day or my thoughts about things. Usually, sometimes it just starts off with me just writing down what's been happening, and then it turns into me writing thoughts about stuff, and then sometimes it gets into like me answering my own questions about my thoughts. I don't know if that will make sense to anybody or not, but I started using this in April. Yeah, April last year. So it's already been almost a year, and I'd say that's about halfway filled out now. And it would probably be filled out. There've definitely been times where I have flown through this size of a notebook. I have a lot of Plum paper A5 notebooks that I've filled out in other years, maybe like one whole one in like 6 months even. So I think because I'm doing this and doing the little daily one together, I just go through seasons of life where sometimes I journal a lot and sometimes I don't journal as much, and that's okay. So this I did add into it. It's always been something that's like an option if I feel like it. I did add this back in as something that I want to occasionally do. So it is not an option that you can buy anymore unless they kind of bring it back as a special thing. But this was from Erin Condren. Like the colors change. So it's just a daily journal with a spot for the date, a big blank box for how I'm doing, some gratitudes, goals, today's fun, today's self-care and rest, which I always found it interesting that it had today's goals here. I guess this is meant to be something you fill out in the beginning of the day, which to me is kind of strange to answer this kind of question as soon as the day starts, because how do you know how you're doing today? Because today hasn't really happened much. I don't know. Maybe because I've always been a nighttime journaler. This kind of confuses me because you also wouldn't be sitting down and writing out what your goals are at the end of the day. So to me, this is like more of a nighttime question. This is a daytime question. So I don't know if this is maybe meant to be used maybe both, like morning and evening. There's no other instructions. In my eye, you do whatever the heck you want. So filling this out at the end of the day works well for me as like a recap. So I like this because it kind of reminds me of whenever I used to use the JMB Living Journal when it was dated, and the prompts, and before she changed it, because you used to have a whole dedicated page per day, the prompts were every day there was like a prompt. It was the same every day, and it was like the beauty you noticed, the joy, and there was something else, your win. I think your biggest win, beauty you noticed, and your joy. Those were the three things. And I remember those being my favorite things to sit down and think about, because it made me really stretch my brain and think hard about the good stuff that happened. So having this is kind of similar in that, it wants me to write gratitudes and talk about what was fun and joyful. And of course, I am all about prioritizing taking care of myself. So making sure I notate, how did I do that day? And I always come away filling this out, feeling really good usually. And if I do this regularly enough, it kind of like helps shift my mind. I think maybe just this gratitude part by itself alone might be responsible for that. But I think between the gratitudes and noting down what was fun and joyful, those together are good for reshaping my thinking, because a lot of times we have like a negativity bias. That's just normal. All of us have it. And it's this thing that we do where we can have a million people compliment great things about us throughout the day. And the one jerk who says something rude is the thing that you're going to end up remembering. And it's going to overshadow all the good. And so forcing yourself to journal like this, and for me, certain seasons, it's helpful. So I brought this back out. I journaled, I think, 2 pages in here. And want to kind of, I don't want to say the word force, because I'm not good about setting up rules for myself. I like structure, but also don't. I'm also like a rebel, where it's like, you can't tell me what to do, even talking to myself. So, because I feel like as soon as I say I have to do this every day, I'm going to be like, nope, I'm not doing that every day. You can't tell me what to do. So I have it out, and I like having, it's been helpful to have the journals sitting out on my nightstand, just like how you saw it, just like this, to remind me to sit down and do the journaling. So that is my update for Q2 of 2026. If you want to share what your system looks like, or if you've made changes to yours, I would love to hear them down in the comments. And I'll make sure to leave my affiliate links in the description, and links to other videos that I mentioned there too, for you to check those out. If you like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you are not subscribed and want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.